Hello. So this is my video about prolapse, and I want to preface it by saying I am not a medical expert. So I have been trying to make this video about prolapse for the past, I don't know, week and a half, 2 weeks, and I have just not had a chance. Things have been crazy. Everyone got sick. But now I have a moment, and I figure better now than never. I don't have my stand, so I'm holding this with my hand, so I apologize if it shakes. And as you can see, I'm trapped under two boys who just had a bath and nursed, but I wanted to just go for it. So prolapse. I did not know what prolapse meant until it happened. All right, so there are three kinds of prolapse. Your bladder, your rectum, or your uterus can actually fall into your vaginal canal. So your pelvic floor gives way, and the weight of that organ causes a bulge into your pelvic, or into your vagina. And that may not be the most technical description, but that is the best way I can explain it and how I understand what's happening to my body. And many, many, many women, more than you would think, experience it at some point in their lives. Either giving birth or during menopause when their estrogen levels drop, their pelvic floor will weaken, causing one of the three to drop into their vagina. What also could happen is constipation can cause it, which I did not know. So it's really important as women that we exercise our pelvic floors. And I heard about Kegels and how it's great for sex, but I had no idea how it went way beyond that. So my story was I gave birth to my daughter, and about 5 or 6 weeks postpartum, I went for a walk. And I got home and I sat down and it felt like I was sitting on a golf ball. And I mean, my heart dropped. And I got my boyfriend. I was like, you need to come look at this. What's going on? So he looks and he goes, something is in there blocking your vagina. And I flipped. I called the doctor on call. I was crying. Do I have to go to the ER? So the doctor on call brushed it off. She said, it's not a big deal. Make an appointment tomorrow and we'll come check it out. But it's very common. And I'm thinking to myself, how could this be very common and no one told me about it? I had no idea. So I had done a little bit of Kegeling, but I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know that there are different moves and different positions you had to do while doing the Kegels to be effective. So my bladder prolapsed, and I was basically told, like, yep, this happened. You should go see a professional or a specialist, and you might need surgery. Being told you need surgery right after having a baby is just a terrible feeling, because I went to the specialist and he said, we can do surgery, but you should wait till you're done having kids and you won't be able to do any heavy lifting. Oh, and by the way, I have a newborn I have to carry around. So he recommended I go to physical therapy, and this was life-changing. Physical therapy was amazing. I had a great woman who was very understanding, and she basically explained to me, this is not the end. It's not a big deal. Do not let it ruin your life. Do not let it rule your life. But here's what we can do to make it better. And about 3 months of physical therapy once a week, I was able to reverse my prolapse. And that involved doing all sorts of different exercises and being consistent with them. So fast forward, I'm going to the gym, I'm great, I get pregnant with twins, and I knew it was going to be an issue again. But this time I was ready. So as soon as the twins were born, my bladder prolapsed, called my doctor, got a referral for physical therapy, and I started again. But great. I mean, every pelvic floor physical therapist I've met is just phenomenal. And there are a couple things I want to share and tips and tricks where if you are experiencing prolapse, you can do. The first thing I would suggest if you are pregnant, well, actually for everyone, it doesn't matter. You should do this. If you lift anything, exhale. Do not hold your breath. If you hold your breath, you're pushing down your pelvic floor. So just don't do it. Learn how to do a Kegel correctly. If you're not sure, even if you're not pregnant, not expecting kids, have no issues, make an appointment with a physical therapist and have them check it out and see if you're doing it correctly. because sometimes women push instead of Kegling upward, which makes it worse. Next, don't get constipated, because if you're constipated, it's going to make it worse. Anything that's pushing downward is going to make it worse. Another tip is walk. Walking is really good for strengthening the muscles around. And I didn't know that. In fact, I was under the impression that you shouldn't walk if you have prolapse, but the physical therapist said that's not the case. As long as you're breathing, it's really, really good for you. An interesting fact about my prolapse is that I have really tight areas on the left side of my wall. I would not have known that. And the way the therapist explained it to me was that you've got this muscle, you see it, and it is constantly contracted. So when I need to contract it to stop myself from peeing when I sneeze, I only have a little ways to go. The goal is to relax that muscle completely, so when I need it, I can tighten it completely, and it has the ability to make a full squeeze, and it's not exhausted from being constantly tense. So I've been working on this for about a month, and it is still tense, and my biggest struggle is actually relaxing my pelvic floor, not Kegling. So that is something I needed a physical therapist to tell me about. That is why I highly, highly recommend going and seeing a professional at least once in your life, but even better, do it once before you get pregnant, then schedule a follow-up appointment for after your babies are born and you're cleared by your gynecologist, and then schedule it as you get older when you're approaching menopause, because it has been an eye-opening experience about my body and how to use my body correctly. I now make a point. If I'm doing laundry and I squat down, I squeeze my pelvic floor and I lift it up when I stand up. When I lift my toddler, I always go, she even makes fun of me for it because we do it together. But prolapse is not the end of the world, and we should not suffer in silence. Way too many women have it and don't do anything about it. And if you get ahead of it quick enough, you can generally, if not reverse it, make it a heck of a lot better, and if possible, asymptomatic, which is what we're aiming for. When Piper was born, I had a level 2 prolapse, so I felt it, but it really wasn't like falling out of my body, and I pretty much completely reversed it. When the boys were born, I had a level 3 prolapse, which means it was right there at the entryway coming out, and it was very uncomfortable. So my goal this time around, because I know going from a level 3 to non-existent is probably an unrealistic goal, I am hoping with physical therapy that I can take it up to a level 2 and just be asymptomatic and not feel it. And after only 4 weeks of therapy, I already am seeing dramatic improvements. It is not bothering me as much. I'm not having any issues. I can sneeze and not pee at the same time. If I can communicate one message to every woman out there, is that after you give birth, see a physical therapist and get your pelvic floor evaluated. And if you do experience prolapse, it is not the end of the world. When it happened to me, I felt alone. I was devastated. I just felt like my body had failed. And it didn't. And it can get better. So if you have any questions about prolapse, I am not a medical expert. I'm just a woman going through it. But please feel free to reach out to me. I'd be happy to answer questions or hear your stories. But you are not alone.